So I don't know if you've heard anything more on this, but I had recommended they look at the team's program, because it does give a window, and you can then work with that officer or eject them. It's costing cities a lot of money when people sue them for racial profiling. He says the preferred phrase is bias-based policing. That's what they say now in police circles.
Okay, what's your question?
Oh, sorry, my question. I forgot, I'm supposed to be the interviewer.
It just struck a nerve with me, and I was curious to know if it struck the same nerve, and it has to do with flaunting. And this is a paid ad by the Eugene Police Employees Association, and it's congratulations to the Eugene Police Department 2009 officer Warden, who tasered being informed twice.
Right.
And quite frankly, this is the Eugene Weekly, and it's the opposite perspective, I suppose, and they paid for this ad just to flaunt it, I believe. And I was wondering how that came across to you.
This is the first time I've seen that.
What's your first impression?
My first impression is that it's not helpful. Because it does have that air to me. My first impression is it has that air of, because that you Eugene Weekly readers, nearly every one of you knows that name. And you know that name in one context. That does seem a little bit in your face. I don't know, other than that officer's association with that incident, and maybe I've seen the name, I don't know, somewhere else, but I don't know a lot about that officer.
Can I toss something out and not be an interviewer?
Well, can I get Kate's perspective on that just a little bit?
I think I did see it, and particularly coming the week after the Eugene Weekly had done a big article on the Van Ornum decision that was, certainly have a different viewpoint. I think that the union and EPD are probably trying to make a statement with that, but it's what we've talked about here too. I mean, there are a lot of really good officers who are out there trying to do the best job they can. So I guess I don't know. I mean, I was a little surprised when I opened it up and saw it.
That officer, he may be a very good officer as a general rule. We don't know, but clearly he's been in the news recently, and their decision to place it there, it's
Do you think
a response to that.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, because your comment about that every Eugene Weekly viewer knows this officer's name, and I'm wondering if that might have been the trigger, I hate to use that term loosely, for the police union to consider putting this in as saying that, this is a person who's done a lot of other things in our community, and I'm not justifying it, because I'm as appalled as anybody is that a young man, a slender, skinny young man, was tasered twice after being handcuffed. I don't get that at all, and I think that'll be borne out in the courts when the jurors themselves came out and said unanimously that they, just by finding Ian Berg-Caldwell guilty, that they did not like what the police action was. That was pretty troubling. So I'm just wondering if that might be the thought process as a police union, that this is an officer who's been here for a number of years, and this is one incident, but we're still saying he's the cop of the year or something. Just trying to figure it out, because I think it's kind of odd too.
I think that it could be. I just don't think that that's the best way to do that.
Yeah.
If you want to present that, then present that in a more detailed way.
To actually list what he's done.
Yeah, what he's done.
Recently, just 2 weeks ago, the Sunday edition, they were talking about how police were nervous to do their job anymore because of the Citizen Review Board and the police auditor. I mean, that kind of, information gets out there to the public, then they start wondering what you're all doing here. I mean, does that have anything to do with it, you think, or?
It's pure speculation. Who knows?
It could be. I'd just be speculating.
What do you think about that article then?
I don't know if I saw that. Well, I've seen letters
It had
and
to
so
do with
forth.
driving infractions.
Yes. I did see that article. Yes.
I saw that article, and I think that was probably not maybe intentionally, but designed to play into the opposition to the system, frankly. It's hard for me to believe there's a police officer out driving around who thinks, I'm not going to make a DUI stop because I'm afraid of the CRB. I mean, we have no ability to do anything. We don't use names in our meetings. And if police officers are doing their job, the way they should be and reflecting the values of our community, they should want everything they do reviewed by us.
Do you remember the last comment in that article? It was the female officer that said, I can understand why some police might have this fear, she says, but I feel that if we do the right thing, we have nothing to fear, and that is the whole point. But what I think they might be fearing is if it keeps on a situation where the community paints the whole department with the black brush from something that a few errant officers did, that's how they really pay a price, and that's what I'm hoping gets through. But I'm the
Well,
interviewer.
but then the union and all those officers who don't want to be painted with that brush need to stand up and support the system.
Right.
Instead of letting the ones who are opposed to it speak the loudest.
I do want to ask a little bit about the role that's happening where federal agencies are inserting themselves and contacting EPD to rope them into situations that normally I think most police would ho-hum the old May 30th, 08 thing. It's just a protest du jour. But unfortunately, because of the insertion of a Federal Protective Service employee, we now are paying in the multi-thousands, maybe tens or hundreds of thousands before it's over, for what was basically a glorified jaywalking incident. So how do you feel about this role of DHS and Federal Protective Service and asking EPD to go and arrest people for whatever?
Well, and this is only speaking for me. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous. But I think it's a symptom of, frankly, 8 years of Republican leadership in our country that, we've gone way overboard on anything that even looks like it could be terrorism related. I mean, that was the impetus for the federal involvement at the pesticide rally. They thought it was a pitchfork rebellion at the federal courthouse.
Which it wasn't.
No, it was blocks away. So I think it's really frightening.
Who really are into the work they do because they want to protect and serve and they want to have good relations. But yet there's this adversarial situation going on, and I think to me it's just hard to figure out a solution to this. Do you have any ideas?
Is it the culture itself, you think, a little bit? The police culture and just and some of that's going on, and some of the history that goes on here in Eugene. I mean, the 90s, and some of these police are now elders within the police force. They remember those days, and they don't want them to come back, and there's still memories of that period of time. And so I think sometimes I always feel like there's an us and them big time between the police and maybe certain groups of Eugene. So
I think the culture is part of the problem. I can analogize it to prosecutors, a group I was a member of.
Right.
And some prosecutors would talk as if it was an us and them situation, as if the world was divided up into black and white. There's the good people and there's the bad people. And I would shake my head and say, no. The world is
victims
like
and criminals.
Huh? Yeah, and I try to shake these people from the viewpoint because that's a really dangerous way to look at the world.